Have you ever stood in a room full of people and felt like no one really saw you? Not the battles you've fought, not the storms you've weathered in silence, not the quiet ways you've chosen honor over attention. Maybe you've learned the hard way that not every wound needs a witness, that some truths are best whispered to the soul and not shouted into the world. Maybe, like many men walking this earth, you've come to realize that silence isn't a lack of words, it's a form of strength. In today's culture, vulnerability is often celebrated. We're told that sharing every fear, every mistake, every feeling is not only brave, it's necessary. And yet there is a quieter, older path. A path walked by warriors, philosophers, and ordinary men who faced life's weight without handing it to others to carry. This path, rooted in the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, doesn't teach suppression. It teaches restraint. It doesn't glorify secrets. It honors sacredness. There are moments in a man's life when his greatest gift is not what he reveals, but what he protects. Not because he fears being seen, but because he values what should remain unseen. This is not about hiding. It's about holding your dignity, holding your center, holding fast to who you are when the world tries to shake you. So what does that look like? It looks like a man who doesn't collapse when life gets heavy, who doesn't flood the world with every crack in his armor, who doesn't define his worth by applause or pity. A man who can sit with his own pain, face his own failures, and still rise, not with noise, but with quiet confidence. Today, we're going to explore 8 sacred things a man should keep hidden, not to deceive, but to dignify. Things that, when preserved with intention, become the foundation of unshakable strength and inner peace. From weaknesses and mistakes to dreams and love, these aren't rules. They're reminders, anchors, invitations to reclaim the quiet power most have forgotten. We'll explore how restraint, far from being weakness, can be the ultimate strength. We'll uncover why discretion isn't distance, it's depth. And we'll see how silence used wisely can heal more than 1,000 words ever could. This message isn't for everyone. It's not for the man who seeks validation through exposure or power through performance. It's for the man who's ready to master himself, not just be understood by others. If this message stirs something in you, if you've ever felt like there's a deeper kind of manhood that isn't spoken about, often then you're in the right place. Give this video a like, not to feed the algorithm, but to mark a moment, a turning point. Subscribe to this channel, Stoic, now, if you're ready to walk the path of discipline, self-respect, and inner mastery. And if something in this message reminds you of your own journey, share it in the comments. Your story might just be the spark someone else needed. Now let us begin where all strength is forged, not in noise, but in stillness. Number 1. Your weaknesses. There is a sacred space in the soul of every man. A quiet corner where pain is not denied, but refined. This space is not seen by others. It is not shared on social media or handed over in moments of emotional impulse. It is the forge where weakness meets will, where suffering shapes steel. This is the essence of the Stoic path, a path where strength is not declared but demonstrated. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In that one sentence lies a lifetime of wisdom. For the Stoic, the world outside is unpredictable, chaotic, and often unkind. But the world within, this is where sovereignty lies. To show one's weakness too soon, too freely, is to hand over the keys to that inner kingdom. A Stoic man does not pretend he is unbreakable. No, he knows exactly where he bleeds. He walks through suffering, not around it. But he walks alone, not out of pride, but principle. In the echo of solitude, he listens to his own voice. He learns the language of resilience. He builds the discipline to endure not only pain, but the silence that pain demands. There's a beauty in the way the Stoic man carries himself. He does not seek pity. He does not crave reassurance. His grief, if it visits him, is not paraded. His fear, if it rises, is not weaponized. He may cry, but not to be seen. He may ache, but not to be applauded. His emotions are not spectacles. They are signals, and he interprets them with the same stillness that a monk brings to prayer. Consider the story of Alan. Once a thriving executive, he lost everything: his position, his pride, his sense of purpose. Where others would collapse into lamentation, Alan chose a different way. He turned inward. He read Marcus and Seneca. He fasted. He walked the long, cold dawns with only his thoughts. He told no one of the battle within. And when he rose again, when the job came, the respect returned, and the confidence grew. He did not boast. He simply returned to work. That was his redemption. In hiding weakness, a Stoic man is not lying. He is preparing. Like a warrior who sharpens his blade in the dark, he knows the time will come when action, not explanation, is required. And when that moment comes, he will not be shaking from exposure. He will be calm, composed, ready, because strength is not a performance. It is a presence. It is felt before it is seen. It speaks in how a man holds himself when everything is falling apart, and yet he still chooses to rise with no witnesses, no applause, no need for understanding. Only the quiet commitment to keep going, to keep mastering, to keep becoming. That is why a Stoic man hides his weakness, not to deceive others, but to deepen himself, not to run from vulnerability, but to rule over it. And in doing so, he becomes the kind of man the world does not forget, not because he shouted, but because he stood. Number 2, your mistakes. There is a subtle dignity in a man who carries his past not as a burden, but as a ledger, quietly balanced, meticulously studied, but never flamboyantly displayed. To err is human, yes, but to grow from that error in silence, that is Stoic. Seneca, with his usual depth, once wrote, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness." And rough it is. Life hands us no smooth journeys. Every man who walks with honor has stumbled through his own shame. But the Stoic man does not recount those stumbles like war stories. He learns, he reforms. He lets his transformation speak louder than his confession. In today's world, we're often told to share your truth, as if healing can only happen through public airing. But the Stoic man knows otherwise. Some truths are for the fire, not for the forum. He understands that broadcasting every misstep not only invites misinterpretation, but dilutes the sacredness of growth. A mistake aired too soon is like wine poured before it has aged, immature, misunderstood, unworthy of the moment. Think of a man named Thomas. In his 20s, he embezzled money from a startup. Youthful greed, reckless ambition. He was caught, disgraced, shunned. For 10 years he lived beneath that shadow, but not once did he turn it into a sob story. He repaid every cent. He studied law. He rebuilt his life, brick by brick. When he was eventually offered a teaching role at a university, he didn't lead with his past. He led with his integrity. Only much later, when mentoring a troubled student, did he quietly share his past, not for pity, but for purpose. This is the Stoic way. Mistakes are not identity, they are instruction. A Stoic man does not need to rehearse his sins in conversation. He carries them as blueprints, mapping out the bridges he must build over the gaps in his soul. He does not dodge responsibility, he does not shift blame, but neither does he seek redemption through the applause of confession. To admit error to oneself, that is courage. To correct it, that is virtue. But to parade it, that is vanity dressed in vulnerability. There is a kind of humility that never begs for validation. It simply improves, quietly, daily. The Stoic man knows that not every soul he meets is a safe place for his truth. Some people collect stories like currency. They will spend your honesty carelessly. So, he protects his past, not because he is ashamed of it, but because he honors it. It was the fire that forged him, and he refuses to turn that fire into a performance. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The Stoic man applies this to every error, every lapse. His reaction is not public weeping or flamboyant guilt. It is consistent correction, day by day, in private. And if he is ever called to account, if the moment comes when truth must be spoken, he does so with grace. He does not dramatize. He does not defend. He simply states, yes, I failed, and I have changed. That is all. To the Stoic, confession is not a virtue. Correction is. What matters is not how loudly a man repents, but how quietly he transforms. The world may never know the full depth of his past, but they will feel the full measure of his present. So he does not hide his mistakes out of fear. He carries them with reverence. They are part of him, yes, but they are not the whole of him. And in that silent stewardship, he becomes something stronger than forgiven. He becomes wise. Number 3, your dreams. In a world obsessed with declarations, dream big, share your vision, tell the world your goals. The Stoic man stands in quiet defiance. He guards his dreams like sacred seeds, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. He knows that premature exposure to the winds of doubt and the rain of ridicule can stunt what might have otherwise flourished in silence. Epictetus once advised, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. There is something deeply powerful in that order. First, the internal conviction, then the quiet, consistent action. No announcement, no applause, just a commitment whispered in solitude, then honored in discipline. Stoic man does not broadcast his dreams because he understands their fragility in their early stages. Like a flame in the wind, a dream must be shielded, nurtured in darkness before it can light the world. He does not fear judgment, but he respects the destructive power of cynicism. The wrong word at the wrong time, spoken by someone who cannot see what he sees, can create a crack in his resolve. And so, he protects the dream, not because it is weak, but because it is becoming. There was once a young man named David who wanted to build a school in the poorest part of his city. He told a few friends and their laughter echoed for weeks. You? A teacher? You can barely keep a job. They meant no harm, but their disbelief buried his vision for years. It was only when he stopped explaining and started acting, in silence, in shadow, that the dream began to grow roots. He worked 3 jobs, studied at night, and one day the school opened. Not because he convinced the world to believe in him, but because he never stopped believing in himself. The Stoic man does not decorate his life with dreams he hasn't earned. He knows that dreams are not for display. They are for development. He would rather be underestimated and over-deliver than oversell and underperform. And so he plants, tends, and waits. In a culture of instant validation, this restraint is radical. The Stoic understands that the more we talk about a goal, the less energy we often have to pursue it. Talking becomes a substitute for doing, sharing becomes a drug, and the dream, rather than being lived, becomes diluted. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, reminded himself daily, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Similarly, the Stoic man wastes no time persuading others of what he will become. He simply becomes, slowly, purposefully, and when the result appears, it needs no explanation. It is its own testament. Even in love, he holds his aspirations close. He does not expect his partner to carry the weight of his vision. He shares support, not responsibility. He does not burden others with the blueprint of his becoming. He carries it within, because he knows that a man's dream is not a shared burden. It is a sacred calling, and if he fails in quiet dignity. No one has cheered his beginnings, so no one mocks his missteps. He begins again, alone perhaps, but not lonely. For the Stoic man finds companionship in the pursuit itself. The process is the reward. The journey, the joy. To guard one's dream is to honor its sacredness. To nurture it in silence is to ensure it grows in strength. And to one day reveal it, not as an idea, but as a reality, is to live not just with success, but with soul. Number 4. Your feelings, emotions, in their rawest form, are wild rivers. They surge through the soul, carving canyons of joy, pain, fear, and love. And yet, as Marcus Aurelius observed, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. It is not the river that causes ruin. It is the failure to guide its course. The Stoic man understands the power of emotions, but he also respects their volatility. He does not suppress them. He studies them. He does not fear them. He channels them. Where others erupt, he reflects. Where others react, he responds. This is not emotional repression. It is emotional refinement. There is a vast difference between denying a feeling and disciplining it. The Stoic man does not pretend to be unfeeling. He simply refuses to be ruled. Imagine standing in a storm. The wind howls, the rain stings, lightning cracks across the sky. Most men panic or seek shelter. But the Stoic man plants his feet, breathes deeply, and lets the storm pass through him. He watches his feelings, not with cold detachment, but with compassionate clarity. He says, "This is anger," or "This is sorrow," and he welcomes them like passing guests, not permanent residents. Consider Jonathan, a man whose brother betrayed him in business. The hurt ran deep, but instead of vengeance or emotional outbursts, Jonathan took a different path. He journaled every morning. He meditated on the nature of trust and impermanence. He did not speak ill of his brother. He did not unleash fury on his loved ones. Months later, when they met again, he looked his brother in the eye, not with hatred but with peace. "I expected nothing," he said, "and so I lost nothing." That is the mastery of emotion. The Stoic man does not unload his emotional weight onto others indiscriminately, even those he loves. He knows that sharing is not always caring. Sometimes it is burdening. Feelings, when poorly timed or poorly understood, can harm more than they heal. His partner, his friends, his colleagues, they see his serenity not because he hides his feelings, but because he holds them with grace. There is strength in restraint, in choosing the right moment, in understanding that not every feeling needs a stage. The Stoic man values emotional intelligence, the ability to feel fully, yet express selectively. To cry when alone, not because he is ashamed, but because his tears are sacred. To laugh from the gut, but not for approval. To love deeply, but not cling desperately. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Emotions, especially painful ones, are a kind of adversity, and the Stoic man embraces them, not with resistance, but with resolve. He does not broadcast his emotional life to the world. He tends to it like a gardener, pruning, watering, nurturing in private. And when the world pushes him, when life pokes at his patience, tests his temper, toys with his tenderness, he answers not with explosion, but with embodiment. He becomes the calm in the chaos, the stillness in the storm, and others feel it. They may not know his thoughts, but they trust his presence, to feel and not flinch, to hurt and not howl, to love and not lose oneself. This is the Stoic man's emotional creed. He walks with feelings, not behind them. He speaks them when they serve, not when they scream. And in this quiet stewardship, he becomes not less human, but more whole. Number 5, your secrets. There is a room within every man's soul, a quiet chamber where memory, regret, longing, and pain sit in silence. It is a room without windows, lit by the soft glow of reflection. Only the Stoic man knows its key, and he does not open that door for just anyone. Cicero once wrote, "The most sacred thing in the world is the human soul." Within this sacred space lie the stories that shape us, the failures we don't voice, the desires we don't display, the truths too sacred to be shouted. A Stoic man does not hide his secrets to deceive. He keeps them to dignify. He honors the privacy of his inner world not as a mask, but as a sanctuary. In an age of oversharing, where validation often comes at the cost of vulnerability, the Stoic chooses silence. He understands that not every truth must be told to be real. Some truths live deeper than language. Some pain cannot be translated. Some memories lose their power when paraded. There was a man, let's call him Elijah, who had grown up in poverty, bearing the weight of a broken home, surviving things no child should. As he rose in life, became respected, successful, admired, he never told his full story. Not because he was ashamed, because he had healed. And part of healing for him was letting the past remain in its sacred chamber. To share everything is not honesty. Sometimes it is hunger for attention, for pity, for recognition. The Stoic man feeds on none of these. He is nourished by the strength of self-containment. Trust, to him, is sacred currency. He does not spend it lightly. He listens more than he speaks. He receives confessions but offers none in return, unless the soul before him has earned it. Through time, consistency, and shared silence, secrets once shared cannot be retrieved, and the Stoic man ensures they are never weaponized. His restraint is not coldness, it is reverence. He believes deeply that the soul is not public property. It is sacred terrain, and while he may allow another to walk beside him, he does not grant passage to the inner sanctum without purpose. Seneca warned, "Be careful with whom you share your pain, because some will use it to hurt you, others to own you." The Stoic man listens, he watches, he evaluates. Then he decides who, if anyone, may hold a piece of his past. This doesn't make him distant, it makes him deliberate. In every silence there is substance. In every withheld story there is a vow to protect his dignity, to shield the honor of others, to preserve the wholeness of who he is becoming. The Stoic man knows that what is private is not always secret. It is sacred, and sacredness, like fire, must be protected. Not every soul is worthy of every spark, so he walks the world, not as an enigma, but as a man of depth. People may sense the weight he carries, the stories untold. They may wonder, but he will not explain, because he does not need to. His life, his presence, his peace, these are the evidence of all he has endured and all he has chosen to rise above. Number 6, your pain's pain is the crucible in which the Stoic man is formed, not because he is impervious to suffering, but because he transforms it into strength. Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests the brave." To endure is not to deny, it is to rise within the storm with grace. Pain is not shameful, it is sacred. It is the proof that we have dared to live, dared to love, dared to strive. But to speak of pain too often, to make it our identity, is to give it power over us. The Stoic man does not hide his pain to pretend he is unbreakable. He hides it because he is healing. There's a quiet nobility in a man who endures without spectacle, a man who limps through his days with a straight spine and steady gaze, who aches in the night but shows up at dawn. This is not repression, it is reverence. Reverence for others who may not be able to carry the weight of his sorrow. Reverence for himself, to keep some parts of his soul untouched by pity or misinterpretation. Consider Jacob, who lost his son in a tragic accident. He did not broadcast his grief. He did not collapse into bitterness. He planted a tree. He visited the grave in silence every week. He volunteered at shelters. His friends only knew that he had become quieter, more intentional, and in time, his pain became a garden. This is the Stoic path. The Stoic man refuses to let his pain become a prison. He feels it, honors it, learns from it, but does not allow it to become his personality. He does not seek sympathy, for he knows sympathy can soothe but rarely strengthens. Instead, he seeks purpose within pain. What lesson does it teach? What strength does it call forth? Even in love, the Stoic man bears his pain with restraint. He does not unload his sorrow onto his partner in hope of rescue. He invites her presence, not her pity. He may say, "I am hurting," but never, "Fix me," because he understands that to be loved is not to be saved. It is to be seen and still rise alone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears." The Stoic does not deny that he has been hurt, but he chooses not to relive the wound with every retelling. He lets the scar speak for itself and walks with it as proof of survival, not as a badge of suffering. He does not fear appearing vulnerable, but he fears becoming dependent on emotional display. He fears that in rehearsing his hurt, he may forget how to heal. And so he speaks only when speaking serves. He shares only when sharing uplifts. In silence, he processes. In solitude, he strengthens. In suffering, he seeks stillness, not for the world's approval, but for his own peace. A man who carries pain without fanfare is not hiding, he is holding. He is cultivating inner resilience. And when the time comes, when another soul is truly ready to hold space with him, he will share, not the ache, but the wisdom it birthed. The Stoic man knows pain is part of life, not the center of it. And so, while the world may see only his calm, within him is a cathedral of strength built from every tear, every loss, every quiet night he chose to carry on. Number 7. Your pleasures. Pleasure, in its most innocent form, is a gift of existence. A fine meal, a tender touch, a warm sunrise. These are not sins, yet in the hands of the undisciplined, pleasure becomes a trap. Epictetus wrote, "Freedom is not procured by a full enjoyment of what is desired, but by controlling the desire." This is the compass by which the Stoic man navigates joy. He does not reject pleasure, but he refuses to worship it. He partakes, not to escape life, but to enrich it in moderation. He drinks the wine, but never drowns in it. He enjoys the embrace, but does not become a prisoner to it. For the Stoic man, pleasure is a servant, not a master. In a world saturated with indulgence, where gratification is a currency and restraint is rare, the Stoic's discipline is radical. He knows that pleasure unchecked breeds dependency, and dependency is the death of freedom. Picture a man named Theo. Wealthy, well-connected, charming, he could have any luxury at his fingertips, and often did. But he lived simply. He wore plain clothes, gave anonymously to charity, spent his evenings reading or walking, not partying. When asked why, he replied, "I don't need more to feel more, I need less to feel deeply." That's Stoicism. The Stoic man does not announce his pleasures. He does not post them, parade them, or pitch them as proof of a life well lived. His satisfaction is internal, quiet, steady. He enjoys things deeply, not loudly, because he knows that pleasure, when flaunted, invites envy, and when overused, invites decay. He also recognizes the moral test of pleasure. It is easy to be virtuous when life is hard, but can you remain honorable when life is soft, sweet, seductive? The Stoic does not let comfort make him careless. He enjoys the feast, but remains ready to fast. He relishes success, but remains grounded in simplicity. There's also a deeper pleasure, the kind born not from consumption, but from character. The pleasure of self-respect, of honoring commitments, of living with integrity. These joys are not loud, but they are lasting. The Stoic man drinks from that deeper well. In relationships too, he does not chase pleasure as conquest or currency. He values connection over consumption. He does not take more than he gives. He delights in affection, but does not depend on it for his sense of self. Love, for him, is not a transaction. It is a vow. Seneca reminds us, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. The Stoic man curbs his craving, not through denial, but through discernment. He asks, does this serve my virtue? Does this enhance my character? If not, he lets it go. He finds joy in restraint, freedom in simplicity, and wealth in what cannot be bought. His pleasures are few, but they are full. They are not shared to impress, they are savored in stillness. And so he walks, content but not complacent, joyful but not indulgent. His life is a balance of desire and discipline, and in that balance he finds not just pleasure, but peace. Number 8. Your love, perhaps more than any other force in life, can lift a man beyond himself or unmoor him entirely. To love deeply and without expectation is an act of courage. But to love wisely, to love with both passion and poise, is the mark of a Stoic. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. This wisdom extends to how we love, not as reaction or escape, but as deliberate choice, anchored in virtue. The Stoic man does not wear his heart on his sleeve, not out of fear, but out of fidelity to something greater, inner peace. He does not shout his affection from rooftops. He shows it in consistency, in calmness, in care. For the Stoic, love is not performance, it is presence. It's in the way he listens, the way he protects, the way he remains. He loves without losing himself. He does not cling, nor does he control. He is like a tree, rooted, steady, offering shade, but never demanding that others stay beneath it. His love is not possessive, it is liberating, not impulsive, but enduring. Consider Andrew, who was once betrayed by someone he trusted completely. Instead of shutting down, he chose to love again, but with greater awareness. He did not romanticize pain. He did not seek validation through devotion. He simply allowed his heart to open. But this time, he guarded its door with wisdom, not walls. The Stoic man does not confuse love with dependency. He cherishes connection, but does not crumble without it. His strength does not come from being needed, but from being whole. Love to him is not a solution. It is a shared journey, and in that journey, he remains steadfast. When storms come, he does not panic. When passion fades, he does not flee. He does not promise the moon, but he brings his presence. He does not idealize, but he sees, truly sees, the person before him and loves them as they are, not as he wishes them to be. He expresses love not through loud declarations, but through daily devotion, a steady hand on the back, a thoughtful silence when words would wound, an act of service when no one is watching. These are the marks of Stoic affection. Epictetus taught, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. In love, the Stoic man embraces this wisdom. He accepts the other without demand, offers his heart without pretense, and remains faithful to his own center. He may say, I love you, rarely, but when he does, it is a sacred vow, not a casual phrase. And when he loves, he does not seek to be completed. He seeks to be more generous, more virtuous, more true. This is why the Stoic man hides his love, not to keep it secret, but to keep it sacred. In a world that cheapens love with overexposure, he chooses to elevate it with discretion. He does not love to be seen, he loves to be sincere. So he becomes a quiet guardian of the heart, not just his own, but of the one he loves. And in that quiet, in that strength, his love becomes something rare, something lasting, something real. Final reflection. What we've uncovered together isn't just a code of conduct, it's a compass for the soul. We have walked through the quiet corridors of a man's interior world, where weakness is not denied but transformed, where mistakes are not confessed but corrected in silence, where dreams are not broadcast but built brick by brick in the shadows. You've seen that real power doesn't shout, it whispers. It holds back, it waits, it chooses the right moment, the right measure, the right meaning. And you've seen that love, when matured through virtue, does not demand constant confirmation. it becomes a quiet force, steady and sure. In a society that asks men to prove themselves loudly, the Stoic man chooses to show up differently. He doesn't post his pain for pity, doesn't parade his plans for praise, and doesn't overshare his heart to feel seen. Instead, he walks with a deep, internal calm. He carries himself with poise, not to impress, but because he respects his own soul enough to guard it. The 8 things we explored are not a checklist to memorize, but a mirror to reflect upon. Where do you overexpose? Where have you given away pieces of your soul too easily, hoping someone else might protect them? And where might you, starting today, reclaim that sacred ground? Let this be a beginning, not of closing yourself off from others, but of opening yourself inward, of tending the flame within before lighting fires for the world. Every small decision to choose dignity over display, calm over chaos, purpose over performance, that is how you build a life of peace, of presence, of quiet power. If you're still here, if something in this journey spoke to you, not just to your mind, but to the place in you that's been waiting to feel understood, then don't let the moment pass unnoticed. Give this video a like, not because you were told to, but because it meant something. Subscribe if you feel the call to keep walking this ancient path, and leave a comment below with your reflection. Your words could echo deeply for someone else who needed them. The Stoic man is not a myth. He is not cold or closed or heartless. He is simply sovereign. And if you choose to be that man, not tomorrow but now, you will begin to feel the shift. Not in how others see you, but in how you see yourself. As Marcus Aurelius once said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. And so may you go forward, unshaken, unchained, and quietly unstoppable.